Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lock Shop's Fantasy Football Extravaganza. Lock Shop production brought to you by Coolbet, part of the Nielsen Media Coolbet Network. Huss, happy Tuesday, buddy. How are you, my man?
Oh, I'm in great spirits. I'm fired up for the Grey Cup, fired up for the World Cup, and I'm still on a bit of a high from last night. A great Monday night for the Lock Shop, and maybe one of the most unlikely wins in fantasy football ever.
Oh, my God. This is amazing.
On the final play of the game. Let's just get this right out. Thoughts and prayers to our guy, Marshall Patterson, who is going up against me in the Fantasy Football Extravaganza Listener League. Marshall was up on me by 0.9 going into the final play of the game. He had Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith lost, and I'll have to check this. I assumed that it was just the -2 for the turnover. He was credited with the fumble on the lateral play at the end of the game. He may, in fact, have also lost the yardage because we were talking about that off air. The prop, he went from 52 yards or 53 yards to 39.
And his total was 52 and a half. The worst.
The end result of this was a 1-point victory for the Golden Boys over Marshall's Blame Canada franchise. And let me just say this. I got a text from Marshall basically as that happened. What a way to lose a fantasy match against you. Wow. I responded, oh my God, that is a brutal beat, dude. And the only thing he could come back with is, I almost puked. Every year that happens. And, you have to be nervous when a team has the one play left and they're on their 15 or 20-yard line or 10-yard line and they're close to the end zone. We've seen it happen before, but that one was nuts. And there was a ton of people that had in-game unders, -40, under 47.5, under 49.5, under 51. They all got cratered on that final play of the game. But for everyone worried about a bad beat, there's guys on the other side like me that had no business winning, but did last night. That being said, Commanders, left hand up, +11, never in doubt.
Easy.
The over, which was the daily pick for Coolbet. That one was early in the third quarter, which was nice. And shout out to Joey Sly, who cashed the field goal prop on his own last night. The only thing I needed for a perfect night was a couple more receiving yards for Antonio Gibson, but I will definitely take it. Great start. We go opposite weeks on the daily picks. So to get in at 1-0, start well, continue the momentum from the weekend was great. So all in all, fun Monday nighter, big win for Washington, and Philly now tied with the Vikings at the top of the NFC. The things are getting interesting.
Getting very interesting. And also shout out from a fantasy perspective to anybody who had the balls to play Washington's defense against Jalen Hurts, because you would have got a huge touchdown late that probably swung a few leagues as well the other way. So it always goes both ways.
I did see a matchup screen capped where a guy lost by half a point. He had Devonta Smith and his opponent had the Washington defense. There was like a 9
Oh my God.
on the final play of the game.
Oh, so, that's the absolute fantasy, man. It's a bitch. It's just a bitch. It's as simple as that. As for the standings for our FFE league here, that win that you had, the Golden Boys, now sitting at 7-3, first in the West, and Blame Canada, who you beat, falls to 6-4. One win behind Dirty Randy out in the East. Dusty's Destroyers have put together back-to-back victories, courtesy one Justin Fields, and we're now at 4-6 trying to make a late season push, my man. So we'll see how this plays out.
I got to say, Fields, Cole Kmet, we had some good plays of the week last week.
CeeDee Lamb.
We'll talk about Kmet a little bit later on. But I have to laugh because, and it just goes to show how fantasy centric so much of the coverage of NFL football is. Everyone's saying Justin Fields is the truth. Justin Fields is breakout performances. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the Detroit Lions. No one, that's like a complete afterthought. No, but the guy's on fire right now for fantasy. Start him. Start of the week. Justin Fields. Doesn't matter that the Bears lost to the Lions. Shout out to the Lions. Back-to-back wins in the division. Had them as well. Man, if only Seattle could have beaten Tampa, that underdog parlay would have come in from Saturday's show.
Yeah, that would have cashed too. That would have been huge. That would have been very nice. Yeah, very nice.
I'm not complaining though. It was an awesome week, and man, I'm now starting to feel a lot of pressure going into Fridays. 26-14 against the
Is that what you're at right now?
26-14 right now. 12 games above 500.
That's insane. Well, you've been on a steady diet. It's been like a month of 3-1s or 4-0s. Like it's been
and the last 2 weeks, I mean, I was 3-0 going into that final game. I'm still pissed off the Cowboys for blowing that 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. But whatever. Bombers won, Argos won. I can't complain. It's been a nice couple weeks, and hopefully now with the pressure of the daily picks on my shoulders for the lock shop, we can get a winner tonight. I'll figure that out. That'll be on the Coolbet socials later on. So make sure you're following at Coolbet Canada on Instagram and Twitter. And in addition, you're going to want to be following that because I will have a ton of content with my guy, Jake Bolin Moss from Qatar beginning.
Yeah, when do you guys head out, buddy? When do you take off?
We head out on Saturday, Winnipeg to Toronto, hook up with Jake in the airport, and then a direct flight from Toronto to Abu Dhabi, and then a quick flight over to Doha. I think I'm going to get there about 8 or 9 hours before the Grey Cup starts, if my calculations are correct and everything goes as well. And then my entire focus will be getting to the hotel and figuring out how I watch the Grey Cup in the middle of the night there in Doha, and then obviously trying to figure out how to do a show the next day, how to hook up with you. There's many unknowns at this point. All I'll know is that we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a ton of great content on the Coolbet channels, Winnipeg Sports Talk, and the Lock Shop for the next couple of weeks following Canada return to the World Cup. It's going to be awesome.
Can't wait to see what you bring to the table for content from down there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. All right, let's dive into it. We'll get to our starts of the week coming up. But Waiver Wire, Huss, who you targeting this week as we work our way towards fantasy playoff time, essentially?
Well, a few guys to look into. And, we know how scarce, running backs that get plenty of touches are right now. And some of these guys, depending on how deep your league is, will be there. Some of them may be gone. But there's 3 running backs that stand out. First of all, Rachaad White. Rachaad White was already, the Bucs, it's been well documented how poor their running attack has been so far this year. Rachaad White was already getting plenty of work. And then Leonard Fournette got hurt. He ended up with a big game, I believe, over 20 touches in the game. And I think that, with his young legs and, just how poor the Tampa Bay rushing attack has been, that is the direction Tampa is going to go. So if Rachaad White is available, good chance he isn't. Definitely jump on him. Another guy in that situation is Jaylen Warren from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has been integrated in, it's almost a share split right now with Najee Harris, in that Harris just has not been what anyone that picked him in the first round thought he'd be this year. And I think Mike Tomlin's noticing that Warren's really adding a different dimension to that Steelers offense. So he's absolutely worth a roster spot if he's available in your league. And, should there be any sort of injury, would be a guy that would be carrying the majority of the mail for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But maybe the most interesting one is Isaiah Pacheco. And this was a guy people were real horny for at the start of the year. Yeah. Didn't have a great start to the season, had a few mishaps that rookies do, and found himself on the waiver wire. Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in the doghouse right now. He was only in, I believe, on 6% of the plays. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be running with more and more Isaiah Pacheco and certainly Jerick McKinnon. Good chance one or both of those guys are available in your league right now. So either one of them definitely worth a roster spot right now. And I think Pacheco could very well be startable in the very near future if this trend continues with the role of CEH diminishing and going a couple different ways. So those are the running backs that I think you should definitely be taking a look at. Of course, I cannot forget about Christian Watson. as mad as I was about the Cowboys losing it, it was a great story for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers finally clicking with one of his young receivers. Watson, his breakout game, 3 touchdowns in the Packers win over the Dallas Cowboys. That can only mean good things for the Packers offense and fantasy owners. So if he had been dropped in your league, get him now. And we should mention Odell Beckham Jr. He's available in most leagues. There's a very good chance that he signs
stash
very
candidate.
soon.
Yep.
We're talking about, he's looking for a contender. I don't think he's going to go to a place where he won't have a chance to play or get the ball. And if you're thin at receiver, he might be a good guy to stash for a couple weeks. And who knows, come playoff time, we could be talking about Odell Beckham Jr. making a big impact in fantasy.
All right, let's quick follow-up on Christian Watson, because he had 4 catches. 3 of them were touchdowns, but he's clearly a deep threat here for Aaron Rodgers. They get the Titans this week, who are dead last in allowing big plays beyond 20 yards. So that's something to keep in mind if you're thinking, like, maybe I'll pick Watson up, I'll stash him. I mean, and I know there was one route that he ran the wrong way and Aaron Rodgers wasn't happy. But if Aaron Rodgers starts to have faith in this guy, 4 of his next 6 opponents are in the bottom third in the league, 20 yards beyond defensively. So keep that in mind when you're looking at Christian Watson. Now, here's a follow-up question on Watson. In my biggest entry league, the big boy league, we call it, I've got an okay team. I've got Justin Fields in at quarterback now, and I could use another wide receiver. Christian Watson is available. We started the year with a $200 fab budget. I've still got $160 left. How much should I dump on Christian Watson this week? There's one guy more fab than me left, 168. So it's not like I can just put all of mine in and know I'm going to get him. But what would you do here? What would you think? Like, what do I put? Like $80 in? $100? Like, what do I do?
I'd go north of 100 if I really wanted to get him. I mean, if the target was him and he is the priority and that's where you need it, I would probably be pushing upwards of maybe 100, 120, 125. Last year in week 1, I think I spent 95 of my $100 budget to get Eli Mitchell, because my running backs were an absolute disaster, and I knew he was going to be a starter. And it ended up getting me to the playoffs and getting me right to the end right now. So, listen, the money doesn't help you at the end of the year when it's all said and done.
3 wide receiver league with 2 flexes. So, it's a pretty deep league. I think I almost got to empty it all, to be honest with you. I mean,
you got to unload.
Just in case. Just in case
and
it works, right?
No, I'm with you. And by the way, just one more note on Watson. We all recall week 1 when I think it might have been literally the first play from scrimmage where Aaron Rodgers threw a perfect bomb into the arms of Christian Watson, which would have been like a 75-yard touchdown, and he just straight up dropped it. You can tell Rodgers is a stubborn SOB because it took him about 2 months to give this kid a chance to get back into his good graces. But after getting into the end zone 3 times, I'm pretty sure that he's there. And I would certainly endorse emptying the wallet for Watson in that situation that you just described, considering the trade deadline's pretty much done. We're talking about the waiver wire, and I can't imagine a guy in a better situation to get balls, to get into the end zone, to get touchdowns, to be fantasy relevant than Watson right now. So I think you got to do it.
I'm 6-4. I'm sitting like 5th in the league right now. Like, this is the play for me right now. This is why I've saved a lot of the fab for a moment like this. Maybe it doesn't work out, but if it does, it'd be worth it for me. So I'll let you know how much I end up pumping in there. Hey, from waiver wire target perspective, tell me about Kadarius Toney, because I got Kadarius Toney on my list. Juju taking that heavy hit. Kadarius Toney last week was 4 of 7 for a touchdown and 57 yards. Is there like a significantly more elevated role here now for Kadarius Toney?
Well, I mean, there absolutely will be if Juju's out for any particular amount of time. He's in the concussion protocol right now and missed the rest of the game. And at one point, that Cisco on the defensive captain for the Jaguars was just taking guys out. First, it was Juju, and then it was MVS. MVS was cleared to return to the game after that crushing hit. But I mean, we're seeing like Watson's getting rookies getting some run right now. I mean, Mahomes was doing it with a whole bunch of cast of characters. But Kadarius Toney, I mean, listen, the guy's an all-world talent. There's a reason why he was a first rounder. There's a reason why the Giants sort of put up with him as long as they did until finally saying, screw it, we're out, we're done, and recouping a pick for him. But he is a guy that I think Andy Reid's going to make the most of. Now, I really thought of him as more a long-term play by the Chiefs because he is a first-round pick, so they've got 2 more years on the rookie contract at a relatively reasonable rate, plus that 5th-year option. But from watching the game, or most of the game against the Jags, he's already finding a role in this Kansas City offense. And with the way Pat Mahomes is rolling right now, you could do a lot worse than get a guy like Kadarius Toney in. And even if he wouldn't be a regular everyday starter for you right now, as we get to the final few bye weeks, I certainly think that he would be a legitimate option for you. And it wouldn't surprise him if he has maybe one huge game at some point before the end of the season where he gets over 100 yards and maybe into the end zone a couple times.
2 other guys for you just quickly. Nico Collins with the Texans came off an injury, was targeted 10 times, caught 5 of them, 49 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks has been all poopy pants as of late, as he wasn't traded there prior to the deadline. And Collins just has all the measurables you want for an elite wide receiver. So I've had him stashed in a few dynasty leagues for quite some time. I'll continue that strategy heading into next season, especially depending on whatever happens at the quarterback position there. But Nico Collins might be startable in bye weeks here moving forward as well. And then Paris Campbell, Matt Ryan back in there at quarterback. Paris Campbell was targeted 9 times, 7 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown as well. So not a lot else going on in that offense for the Colts coming off that big win over the Raiders once again. You know what I should do, Huss? I should just start betting only against the Raiders. I can't bet on them anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I should be betting against them every single week. They're now 2-7. It's a mess. Absolute mess.
I honestly can't believe how bad the Raiders are. I mean, they had such high hopes. They had so much talent in that roster. Now, Waller's on IR. You've got Hunter Renfrow on IR. And there they are at the bottom of the AFC West. This was a team that a lot of people thought would be challenging the Chiefs. And we thought the Broncos were going to be good and the Chargers were going to be good. None of them are particularly good right now. And lo and behold, with the Bills losing again, it's the Chiefs at 7-2. And by the way, the Miami Dolphins are the first place team in the AFC East right now at 7-3, a half game up on the Bills and the New York Jets. The Bills, in fact, if you pull it up, are 3rd place technically, because of course they lost the head-to-head matchup to the Jets. So very interesting. Bills will be there at the end. I am still quite confident that the Bills will be playing in that AFC Championship game. But we'll see what happens. Don't sleep on the Dolphins the way they're going right now and the way Tua's playing.
Before we get to our starts of the week, Jabir on the YouTube channel just asks, start Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, which is a great issue to have. I mean, if you have both of these guys, you'd be crazy to not start Fields with what he's done as of late. But, I mean, this is such a tough spot to be in, because what happens if Lamar is just Lamar and Justin Fields is still pretty good, but Lamar has the 40-point week? I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do in this situation. Fields is playing Atlanta this week. It's as juicy as they come. Lamar gets Carolina, also not a bad matchup. Huss, I would go with Fields right now with the way that he's been playing, but it sounds ridiculous to bench Lamar Jackson.
It does, but I think we just have to look at the recent performance of Fields from that position fantasy-wise, and he has been, elite. He's been right at the top of the quarterback rankings, and let's not underestimate what the Falcons' run defense can do for a team that likes to run the football like the Chicago Bears. This is kind of, this would be 1 in 10 opportunities. 9 out of 10 times you're rolling with Lamar Jackson. I think in this case, I probably go with Fields, considering that they're going up against Atlanta. And just the running that he has right now, never mind. I expect him to, Claypool to get involved a little bit more. Cole Kmet, who I'm going to mention too at the start of the week later on, is red hot right now. So first world problems for that lock shop listener. I'll tell you what, the envy of everyone else watching this episode.
It's worked out pretty well. One more quick question. Cam is watching on YouTube as well and says, would you guys trade Olave or DK for Swift in a non-PPR league?
In a non-PPR league, I probably would, to be honest. I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, if it's a keeper league, I wouldn't do it.
If it's a keeper league, I'm definitely hanging on to Olave, but I'd trade DK for Swift in a keeper league.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, because put it this way, I mean, Swift, when healthy, is pretty much a bell cow running back. Although Jamal Williams continues to get,
they're limiting Swift very much right now, still, right? So,
but the guy of all of those players going into next year, the guy I'd want the most is Olave. I mean, I think he's got just an incredibly bright future. He still has an outside chance of being offensive rookie of the year. And I think if he had better quarterbacking, we'd probably be talking about him more right now. But I am high on Swift. I mean, there's not a lot of running backs that have that potential to get the ball as much as he does when he's healthy. So I think you got to consider that big time.
All right, let's get to our starts of the week. Huss, where are you going to the quarterback, buddy?
Well, you know what? I mean, I could have gone with Fields, and I think Fields is almost the obvious one. I figured you'd probably be going there.
I'll just say it. I'm on Justin Fields because I see, like, on Fantasy Pros right now, he's the third-ranked quarterback. Until he's the number one ranked quarterback, he's undervalued in my opinion. So from a fantasy perspective, with what he's been doing on the ground, I mean, that's lovely that he's mixing in these touchdowns through the air as well. But what he's doing on the ground, he's the QB1 for me right now. So when I see him ranked third, fourth, or fifth or whatever, he's my start of the week. Justin Fields, you nailed it. So give me somebody else.
Yeah, listen, I mean, obviously I'm liking Mahomes, but the guy I'm actually going to go with is Jalen Hurts. I mean, they're going up against Indy, and I expect a big bounce back game from the Eagles and from their quarterback after a rough Monday night. It wasn't like he was terrible, but I just think that they will go out and really look to dominate the Indianapolis Colts, get that offense back on track. A.J. Brown was very quiet yesterday. We saw a little bit more Devonta Smith. So Jalen Hurts is where I'm going at the quarterback position. I think even in the DFS league, I think he'll still provide pretty good value. I expect a monster game from Hurts. The running back position, I'm going Tony Pollard. I mean, he has really emerged, and I know there's all this talk about Zeke, and Zeke is Jerry's guy, and will always have a role in the Dallas offense. I don't know how you can't give Tony Pollard the ball when he's running the way he is. He was 22 for 115 and a touchdown last week against Green Bay. He has just continued to get better. And every time he gets the football, he's making something happen. So Tony Pollard in his start of the week for the running back position. And I'll tell you what, going back to Monday Night Football, let's throw scary Terry McLaurin in as the start of the week from the wideout position. Listen, he was just going up against the Eagles and Darius Slay. His total for the game because of that was, I believe, 49.5 or 50. McLaurin was targeted 11 times by Heineke, caught 8 balls for 128 against arguably the best shutdown corner in the NFL. This week, they get the Houston Texans. I think the Commanders keep on rolling right now, and they will be a team with this extra game, even with the NFC Beast division that they're in right now. I kind of think that, this team is going to be relevant right down the stretch, and McLaurin will be going to be a big, big part of that. I look for him to have a big game against Houston. And a tight end, I got to go back. We gave up Cole Kmet last week, another 2-touchdown game. He's got TDs in 3 straight and 4 in his last 2 games. We've talked about what Justin Fields is doing right now, and the devastating nature of the running game from the pocket is allowing guys like Cole Kmet to get open. And they're having a tough time covering him because they're so worried about the quarterback. So Cole Kmet, if you drafted him early, you had to wait a few weeks for something to happen. Now he is as productive as any tight end not named Travis Kelce. So Cole Kmet, tight end start of the week.
In addition to Fields for me, running back, I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. He's been top 10 in 3 of the last 4 weeks. What I really like about his game here is his involvement in the passing game. Like, for so many years in New England, it was you've got your running back, and then you got the James White type or whatever, somebody else to slide out of the back. This guy has been targeted in his last 3 games, in addition to getting anywhere between 14 to 18 touches on the ground and doing a lot with them. He's been targeted 8, 7, and 7 times in his last 3 games. So this is looking like a true 3-down running back here right now, which would be a great guy. What I would try to do, if you can, like if you've got like 1 or 2 guys in a fantasy league and you're not going to win this year and you're trying to sell, I'd be willing to add to those guys that you're selling to kind of to get Stevenson and have him next year. Because I think to start the year next year, he's going to be a top 12 running back drafted next year. That's how good I think he is. So I'm going to try to do that this week. We'll see.
You know what? You're probably right. And I will be the guy that consciously avoids drafting him because I've just been burned by Belichick and the New England running backs for so long. It's just a complete strike, but you're right. And I'll be honest, I'm even surprised with how much they are using him. I mean, last year Harris was the guy. He's sort of been out, but Stevenson has taken advantage of the opportunities, and obviously confidence is growing with what he's able to do. And, this isn't a team that, is all air game relying on Mac Jones's arm. He's kind of turning into the most important person in the New England offense right now.
All right, I've also got my guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been targeted 30 times in his last 3 games. Doesn't have a touchdown over that stretch. There's a touchdown coming here for Amon-Ra St. Brown. 30 targets in the last 3 games. Twice he's been over 15 PPR points, including over 20 this past week. They get the New York Giants this week. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then for my tight end, Dalton Schultz will be the guy. 8 targets, touchdown last week. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb had a huge week. This is a great time for me because since I started this podcast, the Extravaganza 4 seasons ago, my 2 guys the entire time have been CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin. And it is trending in the right direction right now for CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin. So, but that tight end in Dallas, we thought Schultz was going to be huge. He was injured. He's banged up for a lot of the year. He's been back the last couple of games, and he's been heavily involved in their offense as originally projected. So I'm on Dalton Schultz at tight end this week.
Hey, just quickly on the Lions. And I don't know if you spent much time looking ahead to week 11 lines yet, but the 3-6 Lions are at the 7-2 Giants. The game is in New York.
I haven't seen the line yet.
3 points.
You want me to guess? 3?
It's 3. Essentially, this is a pick 'em, and we're giving the Giants the 3 points for home field. Stunned at that number. And just back to the QB start of the week. The other guy, and I'll say this, speaking as an Aaron Rodgers owner that has been so sick and tired of him and the Packers this year, that I actually benched him this week in favor of Taylor Heineke. Don't sleep on Rodgers on Thursday Night Football against the Titans. You sort of rolled out at the big play nature of teams playing against that Titans defense. I wouldn't be surprised if that game against Dallas is a big kickstart. You just knew that Green Bay was going to have to get it going at some point. And I wouldn't be surprised if on national TV on prime time, or I guess on Amazon Prime in the States, that both Christian Watson and Rodgers build off that big game and get it done. Packers 3-point favorites in that game right now as well. And I know we'll get to that over the next couple of days before kickoff on Thursday night.
Another comment on the YouTube channel comes in from girls69.xyz. Find love on the best dating site.
Girls69xyz has now found the Lock Shop YouTube channel.
They won't leave us alone.
They're big fans of Winnipeg sports talk, along with hot Tinder dates and Voyeur 101. They're always popping in. Thanks, Girls XYZ. Start Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, sub today. Give us a sub. That'd be great. Hey, and you should sub. If you've been watching on Twitter, you've been listening to the podcast, this is like the easiest $1,000 you're ever going to get in the mix for. All you need to do is retweet a tweet at Lockshop Bets. You'll see it when you go there. It's pinned. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're at 270 members already. Let's keep building that up. When we get to 1,000, we're going to give away $1,000 cash. Huss, tomorrow we'll be back. I'm not going to lock in our Grey Cup picks tomorrow, but we will take a look at the line because it opened at 4.5. It's 5.5 right now at Coolbet. So we can get into that. We'll give you some puck picks as well. And we got lots to get to. World Cup stuff. I mean, there's lots to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what? Tomorrow might be a good time to maybe take a quick little look at some World Cup futures because it's going to get going on the weekend. We're going to be tied up with the Grey Cup and everything else going on. Obviously, Friday is the best bets. Thursday, we've got Thursday Night Football. So maybe we will make a few pre-tourney wagers for the World Cup tomorrow. Get into that. And, of course, we will have the latest on the line, which, as you mentioned, has gone from 4.5 to 5.5 for the Bombers, with the reports that Zach Collaros will undoubtedly start for the Bombers. I'm still interested to see how much he practices this week, but I don't blame people for having a lot of confidence that the Bombers are ready for the three-peat.
We will talk to you tomorrow right here on The Lock Shop.